If you're a BCBA, you're going to want to hear this. We're going to be discussing the biggest problems for sleep with children with ASD, and that's the difficulty falling asleep. We're going to talk a little bit about the theory and what we can do about it, so stick around. If you don't know me, my name is Gabby. I'm a BCBA, an LBA, and a certified behavioral sleep specialist, and I talk a lot about all things sleep. You can check me out on Instagram at sleeptype_Gabby for tons of information on how to treat and address sleep problems for children with ASD. So a theory related to why children with autism struggle to fall asleep is that they're missing the social cues around sleep. The cues or antecedents, triggers in their environment that tell them, look, it's time to start getting ready for bed. It's time to unwind. It's time to go fall asleep. So a lot of those are present for all of us in our day-to-day lives. And we understand that there is a sequence to getting ready for bed, and our environment may trigger that sequence for us, which signals our bodies that it is time to start getting ready for sleep and to wind down. And so one of the theories is that for children with autism, they're struggling with that social cue, and so they're struggling to understand or to digest that it is time to start winding down. So this is what we're going to be looking at today. How can we better signal to them that it is time to wind down and it is time to get ready and to fall asleep? So when you are consulting with a family and you're looking to help them address sleep concerns that they may have for their child, you want to go over a few things. And one of the things you want to do is start to discuss with the family that you are going to teach the signal that sleep is going to become available. So how do we do that? How do we explain that to the family that it's not just getting them down and dealing with night wakings and early morning wakings, but it's also teaching the social skill of how to start getting ready for sleep. And that's a teachable skill. So one of the things that you will want to look at with the family is, how are you cueing sleep? And by cueing sleep, what I mean is, how are you cueing the start of the bedtime routine? That can be anything for you and the family. You really want to make that very personal to maybe the child or the family's natural flow. But what type of cue are you going to use with the family that they can be consistent with? And that's the second component. You want to have a cue, and you want to be consistently applying that cue every single night to teach that this is signaling that sleep is going to become available. The other thing you want to look at is you want to have multiple cues. So as the bedtime routine goes on, there's multiple cues that are signaling that sleep is coming. And so you're going to look at how you're setting up the bedtime routine with that family so that there are cues in play that occur in the same order every time. And this way the child starts to learn that this sequence of events ends here. So let's talk a little bit more about the actual cueing and how that can occur within the routine leading up to bed, so that we are starting to teach the social skill of paying attention to the environment, because this is what's signaling to you, the child, that sleep is coming. So some of the type of things you can look at is obviously visual cues. Visual cues like a visual schedule, a first then, something that helps the child understand that sequentially things are changing and sequentially things are leading up to bed. You can use things such as auditory cues. So you may have a certain sound or a certain song that starts the top of bedtime. Maybe it's as easy as even just like a clap along with the first directive of, we're going to start getting ready for bed. So those are some things to consider as you consult with the families, start to work within the family dynamic. What is naturally occurring as a cue, perhaps maybe for the siblings, or things that are occurring sequentially in that family that makes sense to be a cue for the start of a bedtime routine. You're going to want to probably look at that a little bit as well. The other thing that you can look at in terms of how you cue is the sequential order. The sequential order plays a huge role as we're getting students and children ready to go to bed and to cue that sleep is coming. So what is the order of the routine? And that order is going to probably be different from child to child, family to family. But typically speaking, you want the order to have the order to be the same every single night, and the activities to be things that are calming or produce calm within the child and for the family. So if your order is going to be leisure skills, a quick chore, a bath time, getting ready for bed, and that's occurring in the time before bedtime, then that order is going to stay the same every single night. This is going to help your learner understand that this routine has started and these are the expectations in the routine every single night, and they don't waver. So when you're consulting with the family, it really needs to start with, how are we going to teach the social cues of sleep? So how are we going to get the learner to understand that we're leading up to bedtime, and we want to do that in a way that helps promote lower rates of problem behavior if any behaviors are occurring anyway. And we do want to do it in a way that hopefully works within the family dynamic. So if the current routine at home is part of the difficulty, part of the challenge to understanding that sleep is going to become imminent, then that's a separate discussion. But if the family has a skeletal or a working routine, then just maybe a few tweaks with family input could help. So as we look at teaching the skill of understanding the cues that lead to sleep, you're going to want to keep, again, a few things in play. You need the initial cue that signals that the bedtime routine has started. You also want to make sure that your order and sequence of events are consistent and predictable. That is going to help with understanding that the routine stays the same every single time it occurs, and that will promote learning of the routine. You're also going to look at your visual supports. Your visual supports that you put into play, whether they be pictures, text cue, maybe you're using small actual items in a first then board or a to-do all done list. Those types of things are going to help promote understanding as well. And they're going to help the learner understand expectations. So in looking at the fact that children on the spectrum have difficulty falling asleep, we can't just tackle that moment of falling asleep. We have to look at the potential that they're lacking the ability to understand the social cues leading up to sleep. Here's where we're going to start. And that's the type of information and conversation you want to start having with the families. So it's not just they won't fall asleep, let's do a sleep training protocol at the point of bedtime. It's they're struggling maybe to understand the cues of going to sleep, or they're having problem behavior related to the cues that are currently in the environment that lead up to sleep. And how can we clean that up so that the expectation is clear to them and predictable? So there are a few videos in my playlist related to this topic. Things like how to improve the bedtime routine, how to structure that properly, as well as if there are any home staff in the home working with the learner, how to use those staff to help set up good sleep for the family. If you found this video helpful, make sure to like and subscribe. Look forward to seeing you soon.